are coming to you guys live from Idaho, just north of Snowville, Utah. Mule Deer Foundation and the guys from Hush. We've got Brian from Hush, Grace from Mule Deer Foundation, Logan from Hush as well. We're out here, having a good time. Nice evening. It was a little cold. You can see we're bundled up tonight, enjoying the fire as much as we can. But Brian, where are we out here tonight? What are we doing this weekend?
Yeah, we're going to kick off the 4th annual Brush for Bucks event, which is a habitat project that we originally started working on with First Light about 4 years ago. And it originated from their corporate office where they were doing kind of a team building event. They did it in the spring and the fall where they went out and collected seeds and then subsequently planted brush and seedlings near their headquarters in Ketchum, Idaho.
Yeah.
And so we joined them for one of those events and kind of talked about the idea of what if we could leverage our community and lean into the audience that we've been able to build over the last 10 years and try to get more people out in the field doing work. One of the things we found, we have a bit of a younger demographic, was a lot of people wanted to help, but they maybe didn't know quite how to help, what projects to get involved with. And so that's kind of where the idea originated, that what if we hosted some of our community and partner with First Light. And then as the years kind of went by and we kind of learned how to do it the right way with the help of Idaho Fish and Game and First Light and some great folks that joined us, it's just slowly grown and elevated. And then last year we were able to partner with Mule Deer Foundation and try to take this thing hopefully to the next level, and with the hope of really like growing it well beyond just this singular event.
Yeah. So, I mean, the idea has been around for a while, but I think officially this is like the 4th year, correct? That you guys have put this together. So, I think it's a great, I guess a testament to the dedication of the different people within the industry. We've got this event that you guys, you've started organizing and you put together, getting MDF involved. Obviously that helps to, we've got Grace, who's one of our biologists here. She's here to kind of make sure that we do it right, and get everything done the right way. But also like the dedication of like you guys, First Light, other companies that get involved. I think it's pretty cool that you guys are willing to put, an effort and, money back onto the ground and improve the habitat out here.
Yeah, one of the unique aspects of this project, unlike maybe some others, is we're charging a ticket event fee to come out here. So people are paying $100 to come out and actually go to work for generally 6 to 8 hours in the field.
Which is insane.
It's
super crazy.
Unique and different. The idea behind it wasn't for us to make money, but was to continually raise money. And because the nature of sagebrush and bitterbrush seedlings, they take a lot of time to mature before you can get them in the ground. So we had to pre-buy everything. And in order to do that, we needed funding. And so that's why we originally started doing that. To offset the cost for people, we are reaching out to industry partners that we've worked with for 10 years. You guys are now leaning into that, and we're trying to make sure that the value is worth the price of admission. So they get a nice swag bag of different goodies, from a unique hat or t-shirt that kind of represents the event, to typically a variety of aspects of partner relations. They get an MDF membership. Right. And they get a raffle ticket to what this year will have $25,000 worth of prizes to be raffled off to a pretty small group of around. We try to keep it to like 100 to 130. And so your odds are pretty good there. And then last but not least, you get the seedlings, you get a dibble bar, you get Idaho Fish and Game biologist that's out accompanying you in your planting group, teaching you how to do it the proper way so we can get a good survival rate. Yeah,
I think that's one of the keys, right, is the good survival rate, right? We want to make the most of those funds and try to get these things to survive the best we can. And, we're dealing with some rain and mud, but that's actually really good for the transplanting, right?
Grace, you could probably speak to this way better than we could, but we did get feedback today that last year's event did quite well. How do you guys measure the survival rate, and what are you guys looking at?
Yeah, so when you're going out, so we're planting a lot of bitterbrush in the spring, a lot of sagebrush in the fall, depending on the season. But obviously the goal is to keep as high a survival rate as you possibly can. And so there's a lot of factors that go into that. Moisture is a really big one. This is a dry land, but if we can get those plugs going strong in the ground, if we can get them planted well and then they get some good rain, like last spring, that was a major wet spring, a lot of moisture. So those seedlings did really well. They had high survival rate, and which just means year after year, if they can keep growing, keep getting bigger, that just means there'll be more forage for those deer come wintertime when they're really, really needing that forage. So to go and measure the success rate, we'll, after the planting, we'll go and kind of mark where all the plants were. We'll keep track of where those plants go into the ground. And then, each season or every couple months, we'll go back out and we'll have our little test plot of the plants that we're measuring and looking at and seeing, okay, of this quadrant, how many of them are surviving? And then we extrapolate that to all of them, because we can't go look at 21,000 plants, but we can look at 1,000 plants, and we can get a good idea about, all right, we all know that everyone planted this on the same day, relative same conditions. We know that overall the plants are doing pretty well.
Yeah. So maybe, and for those people that may be watching this, and Grace, maybe tell us a little bit more about why sagebrush, bitterbrush is so important to mule deer habitat, and specifically why we're here in this area in southern Idaho.
Yeah, so we all know, mule deer migrate. They summer up in the high mountains where there's lots of green for their young that were just born, and then as fall hits, they have an urge to go down into the valleys, go down where there's large sagebrush, where there's good forage. Their gut biome changes, it's been adapted to this land. The goal of winter is to survive. That's the goal. That's the hardest thing for a deer to do, is to survive winter. If there's deep snow, anything like that, that's difficult. But if you can get some good bitterbrush and sagebrush, not only is that good forage, but it also helps with drifting snow. So it reduces the actual snowpack on the ground as well, because snow can pile up along those big brushes and reduce the actual snowpack that those deer have to traverse, and where they're burning calories to just survive the winter until they can finally get back up into the mountains to get some better forage up there in the spring.
I wouldn't even have thought about like the actual snowpack or like the wind block aspect.
Yeah,
That's
it's a huge, and
something I had never thought about.
Yeah, and you think about a fire comes through, burns it all, and then next winter it's just blowing snow, large snowpack.
That's been one of the strategies too of this, is strategically picking areas that have been have a good mule deer migration corridor of some
good
sort,
wintering grounds,
and then B, have historically been hit by pretty significant wildfires where they just haven't recovered to the rate at which we need them to. I think that's something that maybe a lot of folks haven't thought as much about, is like, we've learned through doing this for 4 years how long it takes for that sagebrush seedling, that plug, to actually develop into a mature bush that would be a viable source of foraging and feed. And I think that's an interesting component that you just don't think about. You go around to a lot of this country and you see these big, old, healthy sagebrush plants. You kind of take it for granted, but what we've learned is the reality is a lot of those are super old.
Yeah, that's something I've always thought was super interesting, is sage is a very slow-growing plant, right? Like these cedars around us. So essentially all the plugs we're putting in the ground, the ones that survive, we're not necessarily planting them for our generations, but maybe the generations of our kids. And that's something I've always thought was pretty cool. It's kind of like a pay it forward type deal.
For sure. And if we don't get them in the ground, who will, right? If we don't put them in the ground, they're, and they don't start growing, it takes time. Like you said, we might not see the big sagebrush that I put into the ground, but maybe future generations will. And you just hope that a future deer comes through and eats off it as well.
That's cool. One of the other things that I think, Brian, you mentioned identifying like the right helps to battle that invasive a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it takes a lot of different approaches. You know, you might have to do some treatment or pre-treatment, and then you need to get those plants in the ground, because if you can get those sage and those bitter brush established, that just, yeah, it knocks out the competition that has to come back as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've helped fund some other projects in Utah years ago where they did a blend of like lop and scatter. They did some aerial seeding.
Yep.
They did the Ely chain with additional seeding on a dozer. That was like a collaborative effort from Utah Department of Natural Resources, and then BLM, Forest Service, and private landowners in a particular area. But that, what you mentioned on like the invasive species, is such a huge aspect of, you know, post-fire challenges. And, you know, we're lucky enough to be out in the field hunting a lot of the western states. We've been able to do this for the last 10 years or so. So we've spent a lot of time in many states chasing elk and mule deer and pronghorn particularly, but it's been noticeable that like the change in the dynamics of our mule deer herds across so many states in the West, just from 17 to 2024. In 7 years, so much has changed from the age class, and it's obviously a more complex topic that has a lot to go into it. But certainly, helping those deer not only on, you know, the winter range is going to be important, but as we continue to do this, learning more about the importance of like their summer range habitat as well, their importance of like their migration corridor. There's just so many variables. They're just such a sensitive, you know, species comparatively to elk out west, that it just, man, we can just see the dynamics changing. And so much of that was spun off like, well, if we could do a little bit and help raise awareness, what could we hopefully do to recapture some of the incredible deer that we've seen, you know, as a kid growing up, and also, yeah, just even 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. And I think that's one of the reasons why MDF is so excited to work with you guys on something like this, is because, you know, one, the habitat improvement, but two, that awareness, right? That's the whole reason we're out here. That's why we're talking tonight, is to let people know, like, hey, this is what's happening. This is what you need to be aware of. And it's not just a sagebrush thing. It is the interconnectedness of the landscapes. I mean, more and more, you know, I'm a native to Idaho, and so I see, you know, around COVID and everything that's happened since then, you know, lots of growth in Idaho, which, you know, can be good, can be bad, but it also encroaches in deer territory in a lot of these places. I live in eastern Idaho, but Grace, you're over in Boise, and I mean, Boise's going crazy, and a lot of the places they're building houses are mule deer range, right? Winter range, critical habitats.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Winter range
there's
specifically.
they face so many threats. There's a lot of threats that go into the sustainability of populations of mule deer, and no population is the same either. You have to look at each population and say, what are their biggest threats? And yeah, habitat is probably one of the biggest threats, both in encroachment of invasive species, but encroachment on humans, just the disconnect of corridors and their ability to move through the landscape as they once did. There's just a lot of barriers getting put in front of them to be able to complete their native natural life cycle. And if we want to keep hunting, if we want to keep seeing these animals on the landscape, we have to help remove some of those barriers. We have to help ease that ability for them to move from one location to the other, and whether that is, you know, building wildlife crossings, or even adjusting fences so to be wildlife friendly. Looking at which lands are the most important for us to protect and save for those terminal winter ranges, and then make sure that those lands are equipped to house thousands of deer. Yeah, it's not going to stop. It's going to be an ongoing project. It takes a lot of help. It takes a lot of effort. That's why partners are so important, because no one entity can do it alone.
Yeah, I mean, we originally started with the idea of, you know, it's titled Brush $4, but as we keep going down this route, you know, as we think more about it, it's honestly like any kind of habitat improvement, right? So that could be wildlife friendly fencing, that could be lop and scatter, that could be, you name it. Like, our main objective is just to try to bring awareness and make people pause and think, man, what could I maybe do to help?
Yeah.
so we can, you know, hopefully get more deer on the ground that are able for us to go and enjoy and hunt. And, you know, they're pretty incredible species, but certainly, like Grace mentioned, they have a lot of obstacles that seem to get more prevalent year by year.
Well, and, you know, the awareness side of things, I think that's something that, you know, you guys and Hush have done incredibly well, right? Through, you know, the videos that you guys produce, your social, you know, all that stuff. You guys have like a super loyal fan base. And again, I kind of want to go back. You mentioned it earlier, but, you know, people are paying to come out and work all day, which is incredible, especially when we look from, you know, like a nonprofit side of things, you know, trying to get volunteers to come out, especially now. It seems like everybody's busy. There's a million different things going on. I mean, it's just crazy that people are paying to come out here and do this.
There's literally a gentleman here tonight that drove here from Southern California.
Yeah, incredible.
And we've seen that happen year over year, where people are coming from Northwest Washington, Oregon, Wyoming, Nevada, and they're coming into a place that maybe they've never hunted.
Or never will.
Yeah,
exactly.
But they're willing to put in the effort, and it shows, like, you know, the testament to the community that we've been so lucky to build.
Yep.
And the way I've always looked at it is we're just like the conduit between a great group of folks willing to support and help a variety of causes, and then maybe a cause, an issue, or a need that could use some attention or some help. We're the conduit that syncs those two up, and super grateful for the opportunity to have people that would be willing to sacrifice their time, their energy. I mean, we're asking people to take basically an entire Saturday off, to spend $100, to drive a couple hours from their house.
Out in the snow and the rain sometimes.
Yeah,
the
not
cold.
the greatest weather.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of the 4 years, it's 50-50. Like, it's some nice days and some not so nice days. And, you know, year over year, people are doing it. To get 100 or so people out here is crazy to me. So very appreciative for the support that we've received, and hopeful that we can continue to provide enough value and entertainment and enjoyment that they'll want to come do it again.
Well, and the fact, I, you know, hate going back over things, but like the fact that people are coming from all over the country, really, and, you know, to have the vision as that community, you know, and connecting people together and saying, hey, I'm going to go do something that I believe in, that is going to be beneficial for the landscape. It's beneficial for the deer herds, the elk herds, the pronghorn, whatever. But I may never hunt there, or I'm not going to enjoy this landscape every weekend like locals do. You know, that is, I think, speaks volumes to the type of people that you guys are, you know, bringing together, like you just talked about, that conduit. But also just this growing awareness of conservation, and growing awareness of like, hey, we need to do something now while we can, you know. And, you know, we definitely have challenges, but it's pretty inspiring to see people come together and do stuff like this.
Yeah, it's been cool to see what it's evolved into in the past 4 years. I'm excited to see how it will continue to grow. You know, we'd love to inspire other folks that maybe have a community similar to ours to host events in other places, whether that's in Montana or, you know, Nebraska, or you name it. We definitely have some people in mind that we think could kind of carry the torch and host their own event for their own communities. And I definitely believe Mule Deer Foundation will be a very important key element in making that come to fruition, because we don't have the resources to do all the events ourselves, but certainly can hopefully inspire someone else to do it.
So maybe a little behind the scenes, I'd love to hear you guys tell us a little bit about, you know, how this has grown over the years, and like logistically, how does this all come together? Because this isn't just like, hey, everybody show up and here's a bunch of sagebrush, go after it. Like, what's the process? How do you guys put this together? Like, how does this all come together?
So it's kind of materialized. Brandon Tees, who's the Idaho fish and game biologist, has been a point person of ours that we've worked heavily with from the inception. I mean, he's
also like a strong supporter of Mule Deer Foundation, like involved in his local chapter.
Absolutely.
Like he's kind of hitting it from both sides, really.
He's an avid hunter, fisherman, angler, shed hunter, outdoorsman, and so he's been super helpful. Like, he has been a big part in helping us get some grant funding out of the gate to buy some of the original plants before we were able to sell any tickets. The first year we introduced it to the community, we wanted to just do a trial run, so we did 50 participants, and that seemed to go pretty well. And then we scaled up from like 12,000 plants to 30,000 plants. Last year was around 120 folks. So, you know, we've leaned into our partners like Camp Chef will come out here, our family, my dad, Matt's dad, other dads, Logan and Casey's dad, they'll come out, they'll cook the lunches.
Yeah.
It's seeking gifts for Raffle from our partners. So a lot of communication with all the companies that we work with.
Yep.
To see if they'd be willing to donate product for people to be able to participate in the raffle. It's a ton of calls and making sure that the biologist that Brandon knows and is working with and the different agencies. We're on BLM land currently.
Yep.
Sometimes we're working with private landowners. Sometimes we're working with National Forest Service. So it's a multi-layered logistics and coordination amongst those agencies to make sure that we have, you know, the right permission and the right coordination. And then, you know, Brandon and his team of biologists are in the different regions are selecting, hey, here's like choice 1 through 4. We're going to like exhaust which one until we decide like, okay, here's 2024 location. So this is actually a plan B location we're sitting in today. We were going to be in a different spot across the border in Utah because what's unique about this zone is a lot of the mule deer that summer and are living in here in the fall are in Idaho,
Right.
but they actually end up wintering in Utah.
Yep.
And so this is actually more of a transactional area where the deer may not spend a ton of time coming through here, but they're definitely coming down this route before they end up probably 20 miles south of us.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. There's the food preparation. Casey's the logistics and the master of all the food prep. He's been crazy amounts of shopping at Costco, making sure we get all the right goodies and snacks and hydration. And then, yeah, we're leaning into other partners to come and help. So we'll have, you know, First Light will come help in certain aspects. Other partners like Mountain Ops will come and take care of like the snacks and hydration. And, you know, Yeti donated a bunch of stuff to us. So like the list goes on and on with people who are willing to participate that maybe can't be here in person, but they'd like to support us from that aspect. And then we have like our 3PL, our fulfillment house back in Salt Lake. So they pack all the swag bags for all the people who purchase tickets.
Yep.
And making sure that when somebody comes in to get registered, that we hand them, here's your goodie bag, and you're off and ready to roll. So
now, Logan, you've been pretty quiet over there in the corner, you know, but you guys have been out here. I mean, again, this isn't just to like show up and throw things out, right? You've been out here today, like getting stuff ready. Yeah. Like, what have you guys been doing today to get ready for planting tomorrow?
Well, Brian makes it sound like we're pretty dialed up. A lot of the times we're flying by our coattails. like
a lot of operations are like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know? Like he was talking, this is a plan B location. So me and Case came out to plan A location 2-3 weeks ago. It turns out it didn't work, had to find a new location. Drove out here because, I mean, man, this is our stomping grounds. Like, we spent a lot of time out here and just inspected everything and made sure it was good to go. Talked with Tees, worked with the fishing game, and got it planned out. On the aspect of the awareness side of it, been really working on how can we make this video really appeal to the masses? Because I'm a firm believer that there's a lot of people out there that want to help, right? They just don't have the know-how, or maybe they're not aware. And so the biggest thing to us is like, we're not really trying to sell anything. We're just trying to send awareness about how much you can help. Like, you want to help, this is how you can help. So me and Matt have kind of been dabbling on the shot list, getting everything ready. And hopefully, you know, this year, tomorrow, we can kick it off, put 25,000 plants in the ground, and just spread that awareness.
Yeah. Grace, this is you're fairly new to MDF, and this is your first brush for bucks, so you're going to get an experience. But, I mean, what do you see as, like, I guess some of the bigger challenges, and we kind of talked a little bit about some of that, and why are projects and, like, collaborations like this so important?
No one person can do it all. No one entity can do it all. And you can't think of every possibility that is out there, you know? So by partnering with other people, that just increases your capacity, your reach. So being able to reach new audiences, reaching new people that just aren't aware of the fact that, hey, deer need sagebrush and bitterbrush in the winter, and we can do something about it. There's a wide range of volunteer opportunities throughout the state, but like you said, this one's so unique. People are paying to come out here and they get something out of it. Not only do they get the good feeling that, hey, I'm putting something in the ground that will benefit deer, but they can also walk away with some pretty nice prizes. So that doesn't hurt either. That's a pretty good motivation, I would say.
I mean, there's some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I like, you know, MDF employees, I don't think I can win anything, but golf. You know, for what you're getting, it's pretty cool that you get to come out here and get a pretty good shot at some cool gear.
Yeah, even like some of the big shows you go to that have raffles, you know, your odds aren't as good as they are here. We have over $25,000 worth of goodies and, you know, maybe 100 people putting in for them. It's pretty dang rad opportunity to do that.
I was going to say pretty good payment for a day's work, right?
Yeah.
Come out and do
dang straight.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're willing to throw a little money and play the game with Raffle, you might do well.
Yeah, we got it all too. Bows, guns, silencers, you guys.
Optics.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come get geared out for hunting season this fall.
Yeah, and we want to try to, you know, this is the right number. It's like that 100 to 120 people is the right number.
Yep.
That we're shooting for. It's just we can get between 25 and 30,000 plants in the ground. It's not a crazy amount of work because, you know, we want to make sure when you come out here, like you feel like you've done some work. So there's a balance between not making it too easy and then certainly not making it to where it's just like doesn't, you know, it's too much.
Yeah.
And so I think we've identified that 100 to 120 is the right amount of folks. So we'll probably try to keep it there for years to come, which again just bodes well for odds of raffles and things like that down the road.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so where do you guys see this going in the future? I mean, we've talked a little bit about it. We want to keep this one limited to size a little bit, but I mean, Brian, Logan, you guys have been doing this. You've been after it for a little while. You've kind of seen this progress. Like, I guess what's your goal? What's your end vision on seeing this project and others like it?
I'd just say keep growing it, man. Like Brian said, the first time we did it, it was really just kind of a partnership with First Light, just out there, small test, and just growing it every year, getting more and more people. You touched on it earlier, but maybe getting some other people with other audiences involved, because I think the biggest key, and we've touched on it multiple times, is awareness, right? There's people that want to help, so maybe passing the torch on to some other states.
Yeah, that's where I could really see it, you know, evolving is just other folks. You know, Ryan Callahan, who's been a great friend of ours for a lot of years. He's the director of conservation at Meat Eater. Mm-hmm. He's got a pretty large following of his own accord through his podcast, through his social, through video, things of that nature. You know, he's talked about the idea of maybe trying to make one happen up near his home in Montana.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I feel like it could go on and on. I mean, it could spread further east. We've got some friends that are more Midwest based, but they kind of dabble in both whitetail.
There's a lot of mule deer going
right?
out east, right?
And then it goes beyond just the mule deer, right? I mean, it's benefiting a whole slew of other critters they're going to, you know, a byproduct of what we're putting in the ground.
And maybe Grace can speak to that a little bit. I mean, we're always talking about mule deer because Mule Deer Foundation, Brush for Bucks, but like, why is this landscape and what we're doing important for everything else as well?
It's the sagebrush ecosystem is one of the most like diverse ecosystems around. Like, yeah, you look around and you're like, what's so special about this? But you can hear meadowlarks singing. You can see pronghorn running, large groups of pronghorn. The sage grouse, obviously, such an iconic species. They are obligates of sagebrush. So if they don't have sagebrush, they just cease to exist. So, and that's a kind of great thing about a mule deer is it can be an umbrella species. Since they do traverse such a large area, if you can say, well, we know that they migrate through this area, it's an important area for them. Well, some of those species don't travel as large, and so it can be kind of hard sometimes to motivate people to want to focus on very small spots. But if you can say, hey, we're going to benefit this mule deer that is traveling large areas, that just is going to benefit all of these other species, pygmy rabbits, you know, sage grouse, whatever other species that people come out and enjoy in this landscape can be made possible by improving the habitats.
This area that we're in is you know, it's got a good elk population, has a good mule deer population that obviously is migrating back and forth. There's certainly some resident mule deer. It's definitely got sage grouse. It's got sharp-tailed grouse. It's
Hungarian,
got pronghorn,
Huns.
you know,
Just
I mean,
the
there's
bird,
tons of stuff.
Tons of upland opportunity.
Yeah, I'm blown away. Just like the bird families alone that benefit
Yeah.
from sagebrush.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, I think as I was younger, I didn't really pay that much attention to sagebrush, but now it's like one of my favorite places to go because there is like such a diversity, and it's amazing once you go like hiking out through these areas, the rolls in the hills and all the different things you can see. It's pretty incredible, and it's, again, like the mule deer, probably one of the habitats that's, you know, having the biggest struggle and something that we need to work out. So, you know, thank you guys again. You know, like Hush, you guys, without you and kind of putting your foot forward on this, you know, it may not come together. And I would just say too, I mean, you talked about expanding it, but I mean, yes, it's a lot of work, but it's not impossible, right? Like, this is something that other people can do.
Absolutely.
And, you know, your local fish and game agencies, or, you know, even private landowners, the public land managers, these people are excited about the work. They're excited to get involved, and I think it just takes people saying, hey, we want to do this. How do we get it done? And let's get it done. So
Yep.
I think it sounds like you guys are going to put together some pretty cool videos.
Yeah,
Inspire some people on this, right?
definitely. Yeah.
So are you going to do like a full-length film, or, you know?
Yeah, we try to do a video every year, just, you know, show the highlights. You know, like I said earlier, we're not selling something, but we are selling the opportunity, right, to do your part. So that's the main focus for every time we make a video out here, and that's the focus for tomorrow.
Sweet. Well, our fire's getting low.
Back straps.
I'm smelling elk
I was
steak.
going to say, I can smell some good food in the background.
on the grill.
So we're going to, I think, wrap this up. We're going to go grab some food, get ready for our big day tomorrow. But if you guys want to find out more about getting involved, you can obviously go to muledeer.org, check out all the cool projects like this that we're doing. Also, follow Hush. You guys have some incredible, like I said, social videos, things like that really, you know, highlight this work that we're doing. So appreciate you guys, and looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah,
Definitely.
thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Campfire song.